Well, we are live.
That'll be taken the wrong way.
Yes. Isn't that lovely?
No, it's just a good old fashioned British double entendre.
Yeah. Made sense to do it though, didn't it? It fit. Anyway, we're live. Hi there, good people. Today we are going to talk about the concept of. No, not so much concept. We're going to deliberate a little bit on what might be the reason our societies are collapsing. I think that's not that bad a word to say, is it?
Uh, I don't think it's applicable.
You don't
I
think?
think there's lots of reasons why our society's collapsing, and this is but a fly speck.
I think that fly speck is a little bit bigger than that, though.
Yeah, well, we
Hi,
do
that
disagree.
toxic, by the way. See, the thing is, and it depends on how you look at it. We used to say it takes a village, and obviously we said it takes a village when we talked about raising our offspring.
I never said that.
You don't have offspring.
No,
Then
I
you haven't.
never have said it takes a village, nor have I heard it as a common expression.
No, okay. Well, it's a common expression where I'm from, actually.
I bet it's not because you speak Dutch.
Yes, but you can translate certain things.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say it takes a village. You'd say something with lots of spitting.
Please, people, excuse the man. He lives on an island.
And is grateful for it. And
Anyway.
may tomorrow we return to that blessed status.
Well, I wish you will, mate, but the thing is, we don't know that. So let's not rejoice too soon. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the concept of Brexit. I really think that the European Union, as is, has outstayed its usefulness. But that's not today's topic. So let's not get bogged down in this one.
Ha! I think they're connected. Well, we talked pre-stream and we touched on the side of government, and therefore being in the EU is highly pertinent.
Maybe. I don't really want to go into that one just yet. But okay, so back to It Takes a Village. And did I say hi to Toxic Threats? I can't remember. I think I did, but if I didn't, hi there, Tox. I like the stream you did with your daughter. It's she gave a perfect example of when in Rome, do as the Romans do, which is good to see from time to time that people still recognize this. But it takes a village. Our society is breaking up. We are fragmenting. This, to me, seems to be a bad idea. Not because I agree with what our society is trying to become, but because the breaking up of society creates lots of infighting, and we are ever so slightly moving more and more towards a violent interval in our passing of time. So why did I start with It Takes a Village? Because I really believe that it takes a village to raise a child. Not one child, obviously. You can have several childs basically raised at the same time by a bunch of people who work together. The idea of a society. And somewhat archaic idea, it seems. Because
Really?
well, don't you think?
Nope.
The whole idea of a society as people standing together for each other seems gone.
It depends who you talk to.
Well,
You
fair
see,
enough.
you said something about you thought the way the breakdown in our society was a bad idea, but it's not an idea. It is a set of events, but it's not an idea.
Okay.
It is what's happening. But to be an idea would mean it's a conscious objective that people are consciously buying into.
Okay, so be that as it may, whether it's an idea or whether it's a concept or whether it's a coincidence even, it doesn't take away the fact that it's not a good thing to happen.
No, but here's the thing. So you're saying that the idea of communities is anachronistic. So, as I say every time, society is not a monolith. It may be anachronistic amongst the political people, amongst the media people, amongst all those who make a lot of noise, but I don't think it's anachronistic amongst the many, many, many communities around the world who are really happy and love their communities, whether it be location-based, faith-based, interest-based.
And indeed, again, the 21 was an idea. But I'm not sure Agenda 21 is as much to blame as people would like to think it is. It's definitely a strong factor, though, I think, Real Raven. No, it boils down to a few steps before that. Now, amongst us, Toxic has raised several children, and she did so at home. But if I remember Toxic right, there was quite a lot of influence from people around her as well. Obviously her partner, her husband, but also other people. Maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I remembered it wrong, but the idea that a family is the only influence in raising a child is a difficult one. And most families don't even have the opportunity, because in a Western society, parents, men and women, are more or less forced to work, leaving the raising of their children to complete strangers. This in itself does not have to be a negative thing, but it turned out to be just that. After all, I mean, the strange thing that we see, especially in Europe, is that we now have children being taught the greatness of socialism and the greatness of globalism, even though they have no clue what it's all about. And the whole idea of diversity being our strength. They keep telling us diversity is our strength. There actually has been done research into it. The funny thing is, the concept of diversity being our strength is wrong. Which is to say that there is a lot positive to say about having different people around you. But the idea that it's automatically a positive influence on our society is wrong. Now, unfortunately, I cannot get you the article because it's behind a paywall. And at this point in time, I'm not wealthy enough to get it. Mind you, this research does not say diversity in itself is a bad thing either. And I really think there is more nuance to it. What do you think, John?
I think, like everything, it's about balance.
Yeah.
No one knows how to balance anymore.
No, that's.
It's like, okay, so too much homogeneity is bad. You enrich your culture with outside influences. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if you have no sense of self, no pride in self, and no bedrock on which to add the outside influences, then you just end up with the shit show we've got now. So it's about the balance. It's about, you know,
Yeah.
Don't over fear. Don't be overly xenophobic. Don't be overly pluralistic. Be proud of yourself, comfortable in yourself, while also accepting outside influences and participation.
Yeah. And in all fairness, and this is my humble thought, a bunch of rules are to be set. And John and I were talking about this a moment ago. Societies have too many laws as it is at the moment, which is weird, but okay, that's how it is. But a bunch of these rules are, well, useful, perhaps. I think useful might be the best word. But it becomes a problem when certain people are not to be taken into the set of rules, and other people are supposed to uphold these rules completely.
Yeah. You mean discrimination?
Well, for example, it's a good
No,
example.
but that is discrimination.
Yeah.
That what you just described is a definition for discrimination.
It is, but somehow it seems that only one group can be discriminatory, and they can never be the victim of discrimination.
Yeah, well, that's the Orwellian doublespeak of our authoritarians.
Yeah, it's stupid. But and this is another thing that we talked about, and I this is something I dropped in a tweet not too long ago. When something happens, you can already infer by the way they report on it something about the perpetrator. For example, if there was a terroristic act or a mass shooting incident, you can already infer who did it based on how they are reporting.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a white guy, it will be front and center in the headline. If it's anything but, it'll be omitted.
It's not just this, though. In the men's rights movement, it is observed.
Mm-hmm.
I have no research. So this is me passing on what I've heard. Okay. Mm-hmm. That if there's a news story and men are killed, they are people. Not men, people. But women are women.
Yeah.
And they will say things like, I saw one, it was something like 41 killed on a bus crash in China, 13 of whom were women. And it's like, so fucking what?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So fucking what? 13 were women. 41 died.
That should be the end of it.
Yeah.
But that's the point that we have in our society at the moment. We don't have a singular society anymore. There are forces.
We never have had. This is my point.
Uh-huh.
It was an illusion that we had. We always had classes and strata and conscious attempts at differentiation.
But it seems more and more, to me anyway, that how do I put this? The idea of us as a society has been, well, pretty much taken out of the concept. There is no longer an idea of us. And welcome back, Toxic. I was wondering, I only have 3 viewers at the moment. That's
well, here's the thing, right? Okay. So I asked this question.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know about somebody's beliefs, ask the question.
Uh-huh.
Who is counted amongst us? Because take the Ten Commandments. right?
Yes.
Take the Ten Commandments. And so I was reading this book by a biblical scholar, and she was explaining the changes in Quranic tradition over the centuries, not Quranic, Talmudic tradition. Sorry, Jews, the Talmudic tradition in the as recorded in the last 500 years or so before Christ, and how it changed. And so you've got your famous Ten Commandments, one of which is thou shalt not murder.
Yeah.
Right? And it was understood that it didn't apply to every human being. It applied to Jewish people.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because there is an implicit us in every group, in every society. And if you look at the SJWs, they're all about inclusion. No, they're not. They're all about exclusion.
True that.
They define themselves. Define themselves in terms of, have you got this characteristic or that characteristic or that characteristic? And it's all about who's not included. Yeah. And it's like, in men's rights, there's no this and that and the other. There's just men. Gay men, straight men, black men, white men. Men from every country, every religion.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're inclusive, you just say men.
Yeah.
If you're exclusive, you have to start listing all the special groups who you want.
And that's how our society is being. How do I phrase this right? Pushed into the idea of diversity is our strength, when in reality diversity is doing nothing else but fracturing our society.
Yeah.
Because
divide and conquer.
Yeah, it makes smaller and smaller groups. And by making smaller and smaller groups, and then they also are being more or less put at each other's throat, society is collapsing.
You see, politicians have always feared the mob. That is, the populace, who far outnumber them, are far more strong in collectively. They've always feared them. So politics is the art of fragmenting society so that no one group poses a threat.
Either anxious and, indeed. And there's something sincerely disturbed about that, because it's almost as if the way atomized, that's a good word, Richard. Yeah, I can understand that. Maybe atomized is better than fractured. There's something disturbing about this, though, because after they've destroyed social cohesion in so many ways, they are now literally going after the youth. And they are being told that diversity is our strength. And in all fairness, I found one study that clearly proves it isn't, but I can cite at least 5 studies where they will tell you diversity is our strength. But out of those 5 studies, not one truly explains how diversity is our strength.
You see, now you're talking about how they pulled the trick. Because this is the academic trick of the grievance studies.
Yes.
They have produced these nonsensical studies that prove, allegedly, whatever point they set out to prove.
Well, no, I mean, they come
and then all these other people can say, look, there's an academic study, so it must be true.
Yeah, and that academic study is only an academic study because that's how they call it.
Yeah, but it could be, using flawed methodology. It could be unsound. You know, you know it.
Yeah, no, it
I mean, sorry.
it creates the idea that, oh, this is an old story about, and I've used this metaphor in the past. It's an old story of a Maharaja in India, and there was a tiger. Apparently, there was a tiger in. No, there wasn't. There was a guy going through the Maharaja and said, "Okay, would you believe me if I told you there was a tiger in the compound in the castle?" And the Maharaja was like, "No, of course not. I mean, this place is safe. We've got our armed guards at every door. Not a tiger would get in because he'd be dead." Okay, so would you believe it if two people came to tell you that there's a tiger within the compound? And the Maharaja said, again, no, but this time a little less secure. So the question then became, okay, so what if 3 people came forth to tell you there's a tiger in the compound? And the Maharaja then honestly said, okay, so now I'm at a time where I'm going to doubt. Now imagine that everything in the media tells you that diversity is our strength. Are you going to believe that? Well, yes, of course you are, because humans tend to follow the largest groups.
Too absolute.
Maybe.
Of course, many people are.
Okay. Not all. Hashtag not all. But it is a common. It's a common thing.
Yeah.
Humans tend to believe the majority opinion to be right, which it often isn't.
But there is another phenomenon, which is no one believes it except a few. But no one knows no one else believes it.
True that.
This is done a stream on this about how they control thinking under communism.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they got people to believe it. It's just that no one realized no one believed it.
No, but this is also, I mean, we've talked about this in the past as well. This is why the Bolsheviks call themselves the Bolshevik.
Well,
to give the illusion that they are the majority. When, in all fairness, they never were.
Yeah, but I think you make too much of that point.
Maybe. But look at how left-wing people are thinking now. Each and every single one of them. Look at feminists. Oh no, we're all about equality.
Yeah, because they're consummate liars.
Yes.
Or deluded, or both.
How many people believe them?
Not many.
No,
Trust me, not many. That's why so few people in the United Kingdom call themselves feminists.
True.
It's not because they don't believe in equality, it's they don't believe the feminists.
No. Most people recognize that feminists take it too far.
No.
But the media still tells it as it is a good thing.
Yes, the media still says it. But it is, right, as I have, you go out to your friends who you have no idea what their views are, and you start criticising feminism, they just agree with you and chip in with their own perspectives.
Yeah. Individually, that's true.
No, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying.
But
it's like, it's don't conflate group conformity with individual understanding.
But it's the group conformity that creates the...
That's what I said, Michael Keller. Most in the United Kingdom are not feminists.
Not just in the UK. This is true.
No, but there were surveys done. But yeah, I don't trust the survey.
It's roughly the same nearly all over the Western world. Less than a fifth of the population is a feminist. What is the feminist definition of equality? Feminism is, how do you call this? A female supremacy movement. So equality is women are equal.
I've just answered.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you typed it. Okay. But even within feminism, listen, most women aren't feminist either.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
But the concept of these ideas create diversity, so to speak.
Play back the stream. Moderator, play back the stream. Michael Keller's got hearing problems.
I can't play back the stream.
He's saying I said most people in the UK are feminists, and I said are not feminists.
Michael, both John and I know that it's less than a fifth of the population in the UK that is a feminist. Whereas John is proud to say that this is true for the UK, I'm more than willing to say that this is true for just about everywhere in the Western world.
No, I'm not saying it for the UK to focus on the UK. That was contextual to my anecdote.
All right. Okay.
I can't make a statement about the Netherlands and then about how I interact with people in the United Kingdom.
No, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, so we are in a society where there is a very vocal minority, and they push the agenda, drive the agenda. I'm not quite sure which one is better to use. I'm going to stay with push for the moment. Push the agenda. And people are reluctant to go against it because they feel they are the odd one out, even though the majority is the odd one out. But this this vocal minority has pushed the idea of diversity being its strength. And more people are standing up against the idea that where they have no problem with a certain amount of diversity, so to speak, they fail to see how it's their strength. Especially if you look in the Western world, but also in America, how it's not...
Sorry, are you saying America's not in the Western world?
In a way...
That sounds so funny.
In a way, at times, yes, they're not.
It's official. California's now third world.
Well, California is third world. They're rich, but they are a third world... They're a rich third world country.
Hey, having extreme wealth does not preclude you being underdeveloped. Just look at the Middle East.
True that. And California is doing a little worse than most of the Middle Eastern countries. I mean, let's be honest. Open defecation. They have the Black Plague is apparently spotted a few times.
Yeah, you've got to say this for Sharia that keeps the streets clean.
There's something seriously wrong with California. Let's be honest.
I think the world's known that for some time.
But to go back to our topic a little bit. So we have the disintegration of our society. The atomization, is that a better word, Richard? Disintegration, I don't know. I think.
Well, no, it's various things, right? So what you've got is you have a phenomenon of disintegration, which is caused by individual atomization, where people are more and more isolated, not connected to their family, not living in communities. So they're two aspects of the same thing, I would say.
Yeah. And because of this, we see groups like Antifa, we see groups like Patriot Prayer. And don't get me wrong, it's not about whether I agree or disagree with either of them, but I recognize how come they start, how come they survived. Because if we look, for example, at Antifa is very much a gang trying to give meaning to its followers. And then a counter movement starts, and Patriot Prayer is one of the counter movements. If we go back through time, we see the same thing has happened at the beginning of the 20th century. So people always try to return to a society. The idea that we need a society. Because humans are social animals. And it seems that the left is more willing to push individualism without accepting individualism.
Yeah, this is weird because individualism is not a quality normally associated with the left.
No. But they want you to think for yourself.
No, they don't.
But only in this.
They don't want you to think at all.
Well, they want you to think for yourself in the way that they deemed appropriate. How many times?
That's a contradiction in terms.
I know it is. It's hypocrisy at its finest. But how many times have you not seen, for example, well, go Google it, or I'm not going to explain it to you.
No,
you
that's
look
not thinking. That's not about thinking.
It is to them.
No, I'm sorry. It's not about thinking. Finding out information and thinking are very different.
Well, you base your opinion on what you find out.
No, some people find out information that utterly fail to engage brain at all. Therefore, I would say those people do not engage in thinking.
Well, fair enough. Hi, Ludicrous, by the way. Good morning. No, it's middle of the night, man.
No, he does this. He does this even though it's still only 11 o'clock.
All right.
But to be fair, anxious Aussie will be appreciative of saying good morning.
Probably.
Because for her it is.
Well, I guess it makes sense then.
Yeah.
So
it's morning for somebody somewhere in the world all the time.
So how can we tell people or explain to people that the idea of cultural cohesion is indeed what a society makes? How can we explain to people that...
Futilely. You can do it futilely.
Why do you think that?
I'm making a joke.
Oh, okay.
Pissing into the wind.
Because, I mean, in all fairness, if we look at groups like Antifa, they still believe in a certain society concept.
Now, but here's the thing, right? Okay. There are groups better defined by what they're against, and groups better defined by what they're for.
Okay.
I would put Antifa and all those social justice-y groups, although they claim to be progressive, although they claim to want equality, they're actually dedicated as oppositional. Okay. They know very clearly and are very adamant what they're against. Not to ask them what they're for, and it all gets very vague, mumbly.
Yeah.
No, and so it's very easy to focus people against something, especially if that thing's now the other, right? We're all good, we're all great, and we're against them. You start to get that same group of people to energize positively in favor of something, and it will fragment faster than a cluster bomb.
Yeah. And this is what we're seeing in the left.
Yeah, because they're all anti-groups.
And then they turn on each other. And this is even happening within Antifa itself. People are blind to it because not a lot of it comes outside. But even with Antifa, there are people who are considered lesser.
Well, sorry, I'm just laughing at Michael Keller's
Yes. Anxious said you were an old pom.
whinging pom.
Yes.
A whinging pom is a time-honoured Australian insult for a Brit. I understand the insult and I take it with pride.
And Michael Keller had trouble recognizing that the M
Well,
was not
because
an R and an N.
outside of the Commonwealth, shall we say, the term whinging pom is hardly a common one.
True that.
And so you can understand him misreading.
Well, I could still see the difference between an M and an R and an N.
He's Swiss,
Right,
speaking in his fourth language. I think we should cut him a break and say it's reasonable to misread it.
all right then. You say so.
I do. I mean, come on.
Oh, sorry, yawning a little bit. Old man and all that. I seriously don't want to know what is Rule 34. Anywho, if we look at our society as it is, I mean, we are being fragmented, and it seems that, and this is somewhat scary to me, but it seems that the only political movement at the moment that is even willing to consider more than just the way that we are being fragmented as a normal one is at this point in time what people would call the political right. It seems that the political right at this point in time is more inclusive than the left.
It depends on, you see, it's all about values, right?
True that.
And the problem with the left is, as a grievance, I've just termed them as grievance ideologies, right? Feminism, Marxism, etc., all are grievance ideologies. And so the problem is their whole focus is on being against things. Now, what do you do when you're a grievance ideology and the things you ask for are actually given to you?
Well, personally, I would say thank you, but
Yes. But if you're a leader of a grievance ideology, you're a bit stuck. So you come up with new grievances.
well, that's surely what they are doing. That is correct.
Which is exactly what they're doing. And if you've been given what you want, you now make a grievance out of the thing you originally asked for having been delivered.
Yeah.
And so they are now antithetical to their original beliefs, while the Conservatives, being of a nature to conserve, have now accepted the things they used to reject. And so the political sides have swapped. Because when you want something to change, that's what the changers want, the left, and the Conservatives oppose.
Yeah,
But when you've got it, the Conservatives defend it, and the changers oppose. Because they are neither is doing more than actually implement their behaviour.
No, that's correct. And I have to respond to Ludicrous Leprechaun. To be fair, it's the center and the center right, and maybe some of the center left against the far left. And you're correct. You are correct, Ludicrous. That's why, where I don't consider myself right wing, and most people that are now being said to be right wing, I still don't consider them right wing. I don't consider Patriot Prayer right wing, to be honest. But according to the regressive left or the far left, everyone to the right of them is automatically the far right. And this this way of thinking forces people to choose a color, so to speak, which is sincerely troubling. But it also pushes the majority of the people to what the left would call the right. I don't think these people are right-wing. I don't even know what right-wing means, to be honest.
Well, it doesn't mean anything.
There you have it. But we do see that nationalism is a growing ideology, and people are turning against certain left-wing ideals more and more, because
People need to put their beliefs on something, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
People need to center their beliefs on something.
True.
Okay, so if you're beset by this globalist insanity from the left, what's the thing that you can, irrespective, right, of your color, your background, anything like that, what's the thing you can join together on? Your country.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that those opposing the globalists become nationalists, because it doesn't matter what your identity is. It's not an identitarian thing. It's purely, well, we're British and we like to be British, and we don't care if you're a Sikh, a Hindu, a Jew, a Christian, an atheist, a Muslim, anything. We don't care. If you're British, that's good enough for us.
Yeah, true that.
And you want leaders who act in your interest, not some twat in another country.
Well, it's that's true. It's funny though, because people like to think that if you're a national, you're automatically against foreigners.
No, that's what the disingenuous liars who are against nationalists want you to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that. Oh, sorry. Oh, I need to yawn a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. Old man and all that. No, but there is this is the disingenuousness. This is the way that they once again try to fracture society. Our kids are being told that diversity is a good thing. No one can tell them why, but if people tell them long enough that diversity is a good thing, they will start saying it too.
Yeah, but we've already seen that SJW in America get turned on by her audience for actually, because we know they don't genuinely believe in diversity, and they turned on her for ragging on white people, and white men in particular, because they said, hang on, if diversity is so good, why is this one group so bad?
Yeah.
Which ironically is a more positive outcome than had been intended by the bigots who push it.
And more to the point, when will we start recognizing that there is nothing wrong with saying I like this or I like that?
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing: they do. They just play with language, so they pretend that when they do it, it doesn't count. But this is what I'm saying: every group has a us. You just have to figure out what that us is. Who's in it, who's out of it. Now, for the progressives, the regressives, the SJWs, the feminists, it's people with the mindset. Thus, they all go, oh, yes, we love all the black people. But the minute a black person doesn't agree with them, they're the most racist people on earth. Calling them all kinds of racial epithets. Because their chain of reasoning is, we like black people because black people are our puppets who think our way. The minute they don't think their way, they're beyond the pale. They're disgusting.
Yeah, they're wrong.
No, worse than wrong. They're disgusting. Thus the racism. Thus the explicit demonstrations of hatred.
Is it okay to discriminate, Ludicrous? That's a good question.
We all discriminate every day.
Yeah, I'm going to say that discrimination in itself isn't a problem.
It's natural.
It's
I
natural.
discriminate as a shopkeeper against those without money.
Well, it's even easier. What do you
No,
like
I'm just
more?
giving an example. You know.
Yeah, what do you like more, apples or bananas?
Both. They're the two fruits I've got in the house. Damn.
So, discrimination in itself isn't a problem. It starts to become a problem when it's deciding society. Oh no, you have to hire minorities because if you don't, you're discriminating. Yeah, but wait a second. If I have to hire minorities, I'm discriminating.
Yeah, exactly. You know this and I know this. Positive discrimination is discrimination, which is why those sneaky Americans try to call it affirmative action. No, it's positive discrimination.
Yeah.
And there's nothing positive about it.
And indeed, Richard Breyer, I mean, how many times have we seen, for example, in the Democratic Party in America, talking about how black people who do not vote for them are basically shills. They're not black.
They call them names, don't they?
Yeah, they call them Uncle Toms or Oreos.
No. Yeah, Oreos, or what's the other one? Chalk Ice. I like Chalk Ice.
I never saw that one before, but okay. So there is something seriously wrong, but the narrative is being driven. I mean, you have to follow us, and if you don't follow us, you are wrong. How dare you being wrong? And as a society, this is a problem, but we can't address it because as soon as we recognize that this is a problem, we are ist or ob.
To whom?
Yeah, that's the question. To whom? Well, to the ones that tell us not to do it. And
yeah, well, I don't care what they think, so that's all right.
And they are the minority. Yeah, but you might not care, but they are the most vocal part of our society. And a lot of people find it hard to stand up against this.
Yeah, because A, they see what happens if you try, and B, it's a cost-benefit thing. You have to be invested to risk it when, if you don't really care, you just don't bother.
Maybe.
Well, no, it's like, okay, so I have this theory about student debt.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're now seeing these epidemic proportions of student debt in some countries.
Mm-hmm.
Student debt is a wonderful population control technique.
I'm not really sure I see that. Can you explain?
Yeah, because you come out of university, you've never worked a day in your life, and you are in hook essentially to the government, even if it's a private loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
To hundreds of thousands. How much trouble are you going to cause?
Well,
you're going to keep your nose down. You're not going to rock the boat.
Well, actually, in all fairness, the ones that are most vocal are the ones with the high bills to pay, so to speak.
No, but they are on the establishment side because the left is the establishment.
True that. But if we look at, for example, and then we take in America as an example, well, we can look at the UK, we can look at the Netherlands. If we look at the trade schools, people getting diplomas there,
mm-hmm.
they're not in massive debts and they're earning a fair amount of money.
Yeah, but we still have an education system channeling people into useless higher education degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to have the 100% of the population. You still need your useful members of society. You just have to take a large number of the educated and make them docile.
Well,
And you make them docile. I know what you're saying. Oh, they make protests. But here's the thing. They only protest in a conformist manner.
well, this is for the time being, yeah. That's for the time being. I wonder how it will develop, though. I mean, if we look in the UK, they're talking about Brexit. They've been talking about it for a long time. How much longer before the populace will say, okay,
We've got an election tomorrow.
I know.
Today. No, tomorrow. It's 20 minutes to today.
I know. But how much longer will they accept pandering?
Well, it depends. That's what I'm saying. We've got an election. See what the result is. See if we leave on the 1st of January. If we do, problem solved. If we don't, not problem solved.
There you have it. The same is true for America at this point in time with the whole impeachment nonsense. I mean, let's assume that the Congress knows what it's doing. I doubt it, but let's assume that they do. And they will impeach Trump. What will happen to the rest?
Are they? I thought that had all died.
No, they're still busy. That's the worst part. Hell, if it were up to me, I would say it's time to start treason accusations. Because they're not only fabricating information, they're actually failing to prove anything and claiming it as this is evidence. It's weird. So what will happen if the Trump impeachment actually goes through? How much will that then set off society and turn it into a less stable society once again? Okay. Are white Americans accused of causing addiction problems among Native Americans and Africans? Gave them these things, like your youth. Although only it was okay to give them. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat a little bit. I've been getting cold calls from companies that offer to refinance student loans into a 20-year note, but they claim that I would only need to pay 20% of the total debt and the government forgive the rest. Well, that sounds nice.
Yes, but it's based on
personally, I don't understand.
A questionable future, shall we say?
Yeah, this is something I don't understand. If I go to a bank and I have a loan for whatever reason, I know I have to pay back that loan. Who will pay back my loan for me? Well, no one. Why is it different when it comes to education? Why
no, I mean, okay. Here's the problem, right? When they expanded in the UK, I can only give you the UK story, right? So, when I went to university, there's two amounts of money associated to each student. There's the fees, and there's a grant, a living allowance. When you went to higher education, for your regular 3-year bachelor degree, your fees were paid for you, and your grant was means tested. My parents were above the threshold, so they had to pay the grant, not the government. The government didn't give me any money to live on. My parents did. there was a sliding scale, and then for poorer students, they got the lot, okay, from the government.
Yeah.
There was also an irony, and I knew of people where this was true, that if your parents were rich and refused to give you the grant, there was nothing you could do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, this worked when there was a small proportion of the school-leaving population going on to higher education. When they decided under Blair to expand higher education massively, that wasn't affordable.
Okay.
So they introduced tuition fees that had to be paid.
You breaking away, mate.
No, sorry, I'm trying to understand Real Reagan's message. It doesn't make any sense. They introduced a tuition fee that the student had to pay.
Yeah.
And they had loans. They introduced loans for the student to pay it.
Uh-huh.
Now, the irony is that compared to a small proportion of people going to university, if you increase the proportion massively, you are actually devaluing the degree on average. Because if you that's 5% go to university, you've got a high quality graduate population. If your top 50% go, there's a lot of literally average people in there because 50% is in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time as you stop it being free and start charging and introducing student loans, you also mean that there's a lot of people now doing higher education for things that no one bothered to do before because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's a double whammy.
Well, but that's the whole thing. I mean, if you make something free, it loses.
Well, it's not free, but yeah.
No, but even it's not free even if you make it free. But if you make something free, it loses its value. And at the same time, I mean, and I have to research this, but I've been told that in America, in Kentucky, they tried giving people free university admittance. And in the end, they had more people starting their university education, but less than a quarter of the original number actually completed the second year.
Yeah.
More people signed up for it.
Yeah.
But less people cared.
Of course, yes.
Even the ones that did sign up. And this is the problem with making things free.
Well, it's as I say, it's complicated. When going to university was an elite thing, and therefore really counted for something, it being free didn't matter. Because people didn't, in the main, sign up for it unless they were committed to it, right?
Yeah. It's something you want to work on.
Yeah.
And then,
but when it becomes a mass activity that everyone does without thinking, you're going to get a high number of people joining.
Yeah, because they can.
Whether it's free or not.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that the only factor isn't whether it's free. There's also the factor of the scope of who you're opening it to.
I can understand that, yeah. I haven't watched the Offensive Song, by the way, Ludacris, sorry.
It was brilliant. I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought he was great.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I'm usually quite fast with Ludacris because he has some interesting. He when he posts stuff.
It's pure plagiarism. He found somebody else's
Yeah,
video and
I
he
know.
posted it a little bit on the front.
But it's still most of the stuff he does like that is still bloody brilliant. So yeah, there is that. Obviously that's not what I wanted to say, but yeah. Sorry. No, but this is the issue though. I mean, we talk about how things should be free, how people should made to achieve certain things more easily.
Mm-hmm.
When in fact, the more we push for those sort of things, the worse it gets.
Yeah, well, because they're not free. Somebody's paying.
Yeah, and the whole concept of society is paying. This is again another example of how society is dying, is failing, because we can't seem to understand that we have. How do I say this? People have agency, and the left is doing nothing but remove agency from people.
Yeah.
But by removing agency from people, you also remove cohesion. And with that, you are damaging our society. This isn't a left-right thing. This isn't a black
It's
versus
an
white
authoritarian individual or freedom. Let's not call it individualism for the sake of argument.
Yeah, okay.
Freedom.
No, but even freedom is bound, and that's okay.
Well, I'm just searching for a term. Libertarian.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm happy to call myself a libertarian.
Yeah,
if only socially.
Well, the thing is, libertarian means something else in America. There you have it.
Well, the Americans redefine everything wrongly anyway. I mean, come on! Who else has got a right-wing party who's red and a left-wing party who's blue? Only the Americans.
That's true. That is true. Wasn't it Bernie Sanders that in 2016 was talking about how the presidential election would turn the country red?
Red, yeah. He was right.
He was right, but he meant himself.
Yes, of course.
How funny that was. No, but Virgie is from one of the farming districts being screwed by our government's water management, I think. Well, he said hi, but I haven't seen anything else posted by him. But you are more than welcome to join, Virgie, and if you have any questions, by all means, let me hear them. And
I'm waiting for Richard Keller to... Richard Keller. Shit, sorry, guys. Richard Bayer. Or Michael Keller. Richard Bayer to tell me to give him a spanner.
Well, Richard Bayer already has a spanner.
No. Richard Bayer tells me to give newcomers a spanner.
Oh, right. Well.
Which means I then have to open another window, change to SOT stream. And I'm far too lazy for that.
No, well.
I usually like to see if they come back before they get to spend.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've had a few people that came once and maybe said a few things and then left.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again.
Never. And they seem very polite and happy to be here. And then they run screaming for the hills at the first opportunity.
Maybe.
All right, stumbles, screaming for the hills.
I've kind of lost the track of what we were talking about then.
Well, the problem is, right, we can diagnose the problem till the cows come home. But what we can do about it is fuck all. And that's just being honest.
Yeah. We listen, we have no clout whatsoever.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, all people can do. Ludicrous is making reference to a conversation we had on Messenger last night.
I'm curious then, because blaming me, Ludicrous.
No, he's blaming me. That's
okay. Well, wouldn't it then be I blame the co-host Modwayne? Or is he saying I blame the co-host John?
Yeah, he's referring the comment to me because he was saying he blamed the co-host. And I was trying to say, who's the co-host?
There you have it then. Oh, by the way, considering that we had a good talk, but we're totally off topic now. Anxious, did you get any feedback on the rune thingy? I am curious. It's my special talent. Yes, it is, isn't it, John?
Yeah. Hey, I don't lie about it. I'm not deluded about it.
There is that. No, but... Oh, sorry.
I was meaning to answer Richard.
Okay.
Sorry, I like to type.
Tappity tappity tap, clackety clackety clack.
Oh, does it come through loud? Because it doesn't come through at all to me.
Yeah, no, I can hear it. That's true. So, but yeah, no, to get back, and I get back to the topic a little bit.
I think anxious means some decent graphics.
What do you mean?
The arrow she means is when you kept referring to things by pointing with your mouse, but your mouse wasn't being shown.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I extrapolated that to decent graphics. Oh dear. Is that your belly?
That's my belly.
Oh my God. Not a creaking floorboard.
No, that was me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Well, I never signed the Geneva Convention, so.
I should hope not, unless you're suddenly big enough to be a government.
I'm quite big, I have to admit. Self-deprecation can be fun. No just pointers, John. The graphics are fine. Oh, fucking hell. Anyone else have anything to say? Because I'm pretty much losing it right now.
His stomach is revolting. And it's not very nice either.
There is that. I have my microphone at a 45-degree angle above my head at arm's length.
That meant absolutely nothing to me. I like the way you kept the foodie background, by the way.
Well, it made sense to talk when you're talking about society and family.
Okay.
No?
As opposed to a bunch of kids scrapping.
Well, yeah.
Or a bunch of adults scrapping.
Indeed. This is far more wholesome, isn't it?
You see, do you know what? Okay, so to vaguely skirt around, so Britain's three big soap operas, and I think Australians' big ones too, like Neighbours and Home and Away, are all based around community.
Mm-hmm.
So the Britain's three big ones are Coronation Street, EastEnders, and Emmerdale.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're all based around community.
Uh-huh.
No, but don't you find that intriguing that the three biggest shows in the country
Yeah, but I
are
mean,
actually focused on community?
but every soap opera, in a way, is focused on community.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I said, don't you find it fascinating that the three biggest shows in the country are focused on community?
No, I'm not. Why
Because this is, again, it gives the lie to the narrative that people are connected to community and identify with it, even if even if, as you were saying, you've got all these people pushing individualism and a breakdown. But
Okay.
what I'm saying is people connect to it enough to make them the major viewing habit of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is just something that occurred to me, which hadn't occurred to me before. That
all right.
talking about, the narrative people push. And I'm saying that it's more complex than that. And we have to look at things like that to understand what is actually resonating with people.
Yeah, true that. I'm sorry. I need a fast bio break. I'll be right back.
He's done well, guys. An hour and a quarter.
I did my
Hour and
best.
3/4.
Back in a sec.
Do they still have EastEnders? I have no idea, Anxious Aussie. I think it will go on till the day the Earth fades into heat death of the universe. Because it's that sort of thing. Hang on, I'll just do a search. EastEnders. There's 14 jobs that are being applied for it. Yes, I know, Anxious, but the point being is that it shows what people still relate to, even if they don't have it. There's a yearning for it, a mental, what's the word? People relate to it. And then be grateful they don't live there. I don't know anything about the kibbutz movement in Israel, Michael Keller. Nothing. Zero. Zilch, squat, and diddly.
I'm back. And yes, I took longer than a sec. I'm sorry.
Do we still have Brookside? I think that died years ago, Ludicrous. And Hollyoaks. But the big three, Coronation Street, which has been going on for longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, but I mean,
yes, it started in 1960. Even I'm not that old.
But aren't all soaps based on the community, though?
Well, I'm not saying they aren't. I'm saying that their long-lived popularity means that they speak to something. They offer people something attractive. As opposed to, people haven't suddenly gone off them. Interest hasn't faded.
Well,
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, they're accurate. Anxious Aussie thought that they were um, had a negative side. I'm not arguing true or false. I'm just merely saying that the fact that they exist, they have the form they have, and people still are attracted to watching them, says something about people's understanding of community and their yearning for it.
Oh, all right.
That's all. That's all. That's all. I'm just saying. Just saying.
And
So
no,
stories wouldn't mean anything otherwise. Sorry.
I didn't inhale a sandwich. Anxious, seriously. So mean.
Well, so anxious. Just to let you know, right? So, I went to university for the second time in the mid 1980s. And when I went, there was this phenomenon I'd never heard of. It was called neighbours. All my fellow students who were younger than me were fanatical viewers of neighbours. It really was a big thing amongst them for some reason. All these, I guess, 18, 19-year-olds they would be. It was quite disturbing. I'm just saying, quite disturbing.
The age of dinosaurs. Anxious, seriously, come on.
In the last century. Yes, of course, I was born in the last century. As were you, Michael Keller.
As were you, Michael, indeed.
And Modway.
Yeah. All of us here at this point in time were born in the last century.
Yes.
In not so much the last century, the previous century.
No, last century. This is this century, and that was last century.
Well,
it's just the way English language is used.
yes. I'd rather be a little bit more clear.
Oh, but it's only clear if it's your second language.
Well, which is true for quite a bunch of people in the stream. No, ludicrous. It's also your second language, mate.
No, I don't think he meant that.
All right. Okay.
No, as a leprechaun, he might not have been born in last century. He could have been born millennia ago, for all we know. We don't know how old he is as a leprechaun.
I had to Netflix cat watching Mortal, so Right, okay. Well, that's alright, Real Raven. He's giving me views, even though he's not actually viewing. I am curious, though. Oh. I'm sorry. Old man is tired.
That's all right. We've been going for nearly 2 hours.
True that.
No, have we? No, I get confused. An hour and a quarter. My brain. I'm old. My brain is befuddled.
Yes, we're 45 minutes away from 2. But we're past 1.
Okay.
And I have an appointment tomorrow.
You have?
I do. Tomorrow I'm going to go.
Oh, we're in double figures for watching. How can you quit now?
Oh, we are. Well, that is cool. I'm not sure.
Real Raven trumps us all.
Hey, listen, as long as I don't have the same numbers as, well.
No, I'm saying he said he was born in the last millennium.
Last millennium?
Yeah, we were all born in the last millennium.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. Anyway, no, I've got an appointment tomorrow with not so much a job agency, but a job coach sort of thing. I'm going to talk about what possibilities there are for me, what else, etc., etc. I am curious. So, and it is very late
good
for
luck.
me. That is true.
All the best.
Thank you. So I am sorry. I'm still trying to double my subscribers. It's to 20. Well, fair point. But I think most people here are already subscribed to you. But I will tell them once again, guys, go subscribe to Ludacris. He really has fun stuff. It's really brilliant.
Very, very unique content. Because a lot of people, same old, but not Ludacris. Real, genuine, unique, in the good sense, content.
So yeah, I think this is time for us to call it quits. Thank you for tomorrow, and I hope to see you all Saturday. I'm not really sure what we will be talking about Saturday. I really need to spend more time in preparing these things. I have to admit, I am to blame for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, now he's sat at home all day. He can't prepare anything.
Well, in all fairness, it's sickening, but it's true.
I know. Trust me, I know.
It's when I was at work, I at least had time at work to look up things, and now I'm home and I need to do this and I need to do that. So somehow I have less time now. But it's also harder to get started, I guess. Being demotivated a little bit.
Yeah. There's such a thing as too much time.
There is. Anyway, I hope to see you all next week. And this is where I press the end stream button. And I wish you all a very good night. Bye bye.